Greetings from the cosmic horror. The stars are right once again, and the great old ones allow us to talk about for 30 plus minutes H.P. Lovecraft, the horror writer who is a genre unto himself. I am your cosmic host, Mark Griffin, executive of the Lovecraft estate on Yaga, joined in by two from Material World, David Guffey, a professor at Mispatonic University, and Richard Wilson, who is surprisingly calm considering there is a maniac on the loose. Today's episode guest is Steve Hudgens. He's been on before when he was talking about big biting pig films, but today he's discussed a new project that he's been working on for quite some time, the Maniac on the Loose Scary Podcast. Welcome.
Well, I am so happy to be here, guys. How are you today?
Doing well.
Good. We're doing well. Since July 19th, 2021, it seems that you've been producing a new content for your show every week. Have you missed a week?
No. Every Monday, a new episode comes out. Have not missed a week.
And you have over 100 episodes right now?
Yeah, I think as we record this, we're at 104.
And so what keeps you inspired?
Oh, I mean, this is me. This is what I do. I like telling scary stories and short stories in particular. I've kind of found who I am. I'm a short story horror writer. It's taken me a little while to realize, but that's who I am. That's what I am. That's what I'm best at. And so it's pretty fun, really diving into this world that I can make the most out of that.
So what is it about it that it feels that you're calling?
Well, it's funny. When I was young, like in my late teens, I enjoyed writing stories, and I've always been a horror fan since I was a kid. So it's always been kind of in the horror genre, thrillers, some dark type stories, and I liked writing stories. I started writing full-length novels, which I was never very good at. I've never been the best creative writer in the world. And I was finding early on that I'd get inundated with more and more ideas. And I hated having to put those on the back burner and just keep working on the same one until I was finished. But that's what I did. But by the time I was done with one book, I'd have like 20 other ideas and I'd have to pick one. And that's kind of the way it went. And then we started doing movies, it was the same thing. I'd have to pick one idea, write a script, and everything else would be in the back burner. And with the movies, PJ Woodside, who was my movie making partner, we would swap years. So I would write and direct one year, she would write and direct another year. So in that format, I was really having to wait 2 years to pick another story to write. And I always have ideas. Every day I get 5 to 10 new ideas. Not necessarily all good, but I'm getting ideas all the time. And so when I started, I thought I wanted to do this podcast where I wondered if I could come up with enough content to do it weekly like I am. And as I started doing it, I'm like, oh yeah, all these stories that I get every single day, ta-da, here we go. Now it all makes sense. And so and it's really kind of a yin and yang. I do the podcast, and since I'm writing stories to read on the podcast, I put them in book form. And I'm like also a single author horror anthology writer. And I get enough stories to release a book, I release a book. So I'm releasing these podcasts and releasing anthology books, and it's pretty wild, but it's working. Yeah, and I have not had any problem with coming up with ideas. It's just I get ideas all the time. I guess that's my thing. I have finally figured out.
So, are you writing stories for your books, or are you writing stories for your audios that you turn into books?
It started out where I was really doing it for the podcast. I'm like, I have to write these stories for the podcast, and I may as well go ahead and do them as books as well. I'll just kind of add them all into a book until it reaches a certain amount, and then I'll release that as a book. And really at the start, I thought the books were secondary. as it turns out, the books are a lot. I'm doing pretty good with the podcast, but my books have really taken off a lot more than the podcast has, and that's a little bit surprising to me. But yeah, I'm starting to find an audience for the books as well, even more so.
Hmm. So when you write your stories, do you write them as a script to read, or do you already write them as a story and then just read them then?
I just write it as the story, and I read the story. Yeah, I don't do it in a special form or anything like that. It's um, I just write the story out. Because they're short, I just have to read them a few times and make a few corrections, and then I'll actually record it shortly after I've written it. And as I'm recording it, it's just another proof read for me, basically. I because as I'm recording it, I could sometimes I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. So let me pause here and correct that, and then we keep going. But it's just the regular old story. So what you see in the book, it's basically just me reading it, just as is.
Now, is it just you doing all the narration? Have you had anybody else come in, for
It's
like
all me. Nope, it's all me. Yep, I do everything.
I have noticed sometimes you'll distort your voice.
You're right. Yeah. I listen to some scary story podcasts, and a lot of times it'll be a male reading for a female character. And if I'm not aware, if they don't make it me aware early on that it's a female, I'm thinking it's a man. And then at some point, 3/4 into the story, they let clue me in that it's a woman. I'm like, okay, that's let me get used to that now. So if I read a woman's part, I kind of put a higher filter on it to kind of give it a little bit more of a feminine tone. And I'll change up my voice. I mess around with pitches on the editing software, so I'll do a higher tone for women. Certain men, I'll do lower tones. Sometimes there's monsters, and I'll do them in even or demonic type characters, and I'll do them even lower. So I mess around with pitches, and I'm an actor too, so I can fool around with my voice a little bit. That's been a lot of fun.
And I've noticed you don't use a lot of sound effects. And
Not too much, not too much. I just kind of go with creepy music background to accompany the story, and I don't go heavy with sound effects. If there's gunshots or something like that, I'll sometimes throw those in. Once in a while, I'll throw little things in here and there, but I don't go overboard with it. As a matter of fact, it's usually the mood I'm in when I'm editing the story afterwards. I'm like, I feel like throwing a few sound effects in here. I'll do that today, but they're on the lower side for sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about the technical aspects of your podcast? What are you using to edit and record and all that?
Well, the podcast platform that I record on, it was Anchor, and it has recently switched to I think it's called Podcast for Spotify, something like that. They've changed the name, but that's the platform I use. The editing software I use is Vegas. It's the same editing software we used for our movies, but I'm just doing sound here, so it's a lot easier.
I guess what's the process? Do you like write a story first, and the next day you read it, or do you like write the story, let it sit for a week, and then do it, or how's that work?
I write the story and record it all on the same day. So I'll write the story, I'll read it, make some corrections, I'll read it again, I'll make some corrections. If I'm happy with it at that point, I'll take a shot at recording it. If as I'm recording it, I feel like there's still some things that need to be fixed, I'll pause the recording, I'll fix it, and then I'll pick up from there. So it's an all at once kind of a deal.
Wow. So you do it all one day?
Yep, all in one day for each story. Yeah, each individual story I record in one day. And I typically, the way my week goes, I'm usually writing 3 different stories a week.
Or like the podcast where you have 3 stories per episode, are you doing one story of a day, or?
When I first started, I was making longer podcasts. I wanted them to be around half an hour, and I would do 2 to 3 stories would usually fill in that half hour. And before I even started the podcast, here's kind of a, this is kind of a big deal because I don't know that I would have been able to do it otherwise. Before I even started the podcast, I spent about 3 months writing stories to get ahead of myself. So I wanted a surplus of stories that I could pull from. So I was never so I would never be in a situation where I'm like, oh man, I need a story now because I have a new episode coming out next week. I'm kind of like on about a month to 2 month ahead of myself. So when I record a story, it's not coming out for about anywhere from a month to 2 months later. So that helps a lot. Yeah.
When you're doing a story, it's like the cafe. I'm curious, were you actually sitting in a cafe and come up with the idea for that, or was it?
Sometimes it really varies. The cafe I did not. I forgot where I got that idea from, but I was thinking of Dawson Springs because Dawson Springs is a little bit of a ghost town nowadays. It used to be a bustling town, and now the buildings are being torn down, and each year it's a little bit more of a ghost town. And I thought, but there is a cafe out there. I've actually never been in it, but there is just like one little cafe out there, and I thought, so I kind of based that off of the Dawson Springs idea, but I wasn't actually in a cafe and getting an idea like that. It just kind of, I got the idea of what it would be like if you went into like a quiet cafe and like a ghost town and everybody's just kind of sitting there and not moving. And where's the cook and where are the people and where's the chatter, and just kind of built it from there.
So was Dawson Springs like this before the tornado?
Yeah, it's just always been a little ghost townish. They have their old downtown section with the old buildings, but not many of them. A lot of them are vacant. There's only a few stores here and there. There's not much in the way of restaurants. The population is small. There's just neighborhoods outside of the old downtown section. And if you read about the history of Dawson Springs, it was like in the 19 teens, it was like a major hub that people used to come from all over the world to drink the mineral water, the spring water. And there were like
a big resort there.
Yeah, there was like 60 hotels and like 50 pubs, and that place was hopping. And you read about that, and then you see what it is now. It's a little sad. It's a little very ghost townish. Not to rip on Dawson Springs. It's a charming little town, but it definitely has that kind of a ghost town feel to it. And since I've been in the Western Kentucky area, I mean, they've lost a few buildings just due to natural deterioration, vacant buildings that are just running down to the point where they need to be torn down, and new buildings are not going up in their place. So it just gets a little bit more desolate kind of each year.
Have you ever heard of the band called the Code Names? They were based out of Greenville.
I haven't. No, I haven't.
They had a song called "The Vampires of Dawson Springs." That was always one of my favorites of theirs.
Oh, that's awesome! I'll have to look that up. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, they did a kind of like a lot of like spooky type songs. They had one song called Quasimodo and had really cool lines. So it's like, "I have a hunch she'll be back."
What was their name again?
The Code Names.
The Code Names. Okay, I'm gonna look them up and listen to some of their stuff. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I definitely recommend them. And I guess we're writing some of your. I know some of your stories too have some local references to them. Like there's like Cabin in the Woods. You did like Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and
yeah, I do. You'll hear a lot of. I do a lot of Kentucky and Tennessee. My wife's from Tennessee, so I've over the last 8 years I've spent a lot of time in Tennessee too. So when I need a new town name, I often will use town names from Kentucky or Tennessee. If you listen to the podcast, you'll hear Paducah, you'll hear Madisonville, you'll hear. I probably use Dawson Springs once in a while. I've definitely used Russellville more than once.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll bring that one up. We want to ask about the one, but the Russellville one and all that. It's like Out of time.
I definitely did a double
Yeah,
check listening
okay.
to that one. I was like, wait, Russellville Ripper.
Yeah.
The Russellville Ripper, yeah.
Charlie Bowles.
Yeah. Charlie
But-
Bowles.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
I've used Guthrie. I've used Guthrie before. I have a whole town. I have a whole story called Allensburg, which is really based on the town Allens. Is it Allensville? Yeah,
Yeah,
Allensville. It's based on that town. That I don't know if you guys have ever driven through Allensville, but they have like a psycho house right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I know what house you're
Freaky.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a story called Allensburg, which is based on that town.
That's another town like Dawson Springs, where it's like a really prominent town at one time, and now there's almost nothing there.
Right, there's not much. There's like a few of the old downtown buildings are there, but they're vacant, and there's some farmhouses, and then in the middle of it all is the psycho house.
I know what house you're talking about exactly. I've seen.
Yeah,
that
it's
one.
wild.
I can't remember if I've listened to that one or not. What was the title one with Allensburg in it?
Allensburg. It's one of the earlier ones. I can't remember the episode number, but it's one of the earlier ones. I want to say it's in the top, at one of the first 20, 25. Yeah, but boy, if anybody listening hasn't been through Allensville, it's just kind of freaky because it's very quiet, but all of a sudden you're just driving through, you look, if you just look over on the side of the road, right on the road, I'm telling you, it's the psycho house. It's just white. It's not like weathered wood, it's like white, but it's the psycho house. It's freaky. It just doesn't seem like it belongs there.
The thing about Allensville is that you almost have to like drive there on purpose. You know, you don't just drive there through accident and all that.
No, it's like in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I just happened to be passing through it when I used to visit my wife in Tennessee before we were married, and that was one of the routes I would take. I'd go through I'd go through Allensville and Keysburg and through that area, and yeah, it's freaky. It's freaky, just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, here's a bit of worthless trivia for you. At one of the crossroads to Allensville, Daniel Boone's nephew was buried somewhere in that spot there. Let's see.
Is that a fact?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Squire
wild.
Boone settled this area, and so he's supposed to be buried somewhere around the crossroads.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that I hadn't heard that either. Wow, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, see, you can make like an interesting psycho zombie story with Squire Boone or something. Yeah. Another thing I've noticed in some of your stories, you have kind of the shifting point of view, like the dead body, or like you have a humorous account how a serial killer gets caught when he thinks he committed the perfect murder.
Yeah, I love writing stories like that where it's kind of the same story from a different perspective. I always thought that would be fun as a movie, actually, but by the time I started getting the idea to do something like that, we had moved on from the movies, and I just started writing those as stories. I love writing those kinds of stories. So if nobody's familiar with my books or have listened to the podcast yet, well, you should, first of all. And but yeah, it's basically the same story. So if there's 3 characters in the story, we'll get the story from one character's point of view. And then it kind of ends often on a kind of a cliffhanger, like, okay, well, what the hell's going on here? Then we tell like kind of the same story, but from a different character's point of view, and it adds a little bit more. It fills in a little bit more of the jigsaw puzzle, and eventually you find out through various points of view exactly how the story fits. Those are fun to write. Yeah, I enjoy those. I always add 3 or 4 of those within each book that I write. So probably like within every 10 episodes, you're going to get 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah, he was saying Doppelganger was a good one.
Yeah, that same kind of structure. I really like that in terms of learning with the guy as far as all these things that people were accusing him of, as far as why, and then the perspective from the other guy that was actually perpetrating all these acts.
Yeah, that was a fun one too. Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
I guess going to one of your movies, From Hell, was kind of that way. You did almost like, went to different points of view, kind of like I guess to explain about how the zombie apocalypse came to be,
Right. It was Hell is Full.
Hell is Full, excuse me.
Yeah. And yeah, it's really kind of told in reverse order where you focus on one person who's a zombie and you see him as a zombie in that portion of the story. Then we go backwards and you see him as a regular person and you find out how he became the zombie. Usually he's getting bit or he's usually catching it from somebody else. And then we go back in time and find out how they got it and how they got it. It's always funny when people found out that we were making a zombie movie. We had so many people who would come up to us and say, "Oh, I want to be a zombie in the movie. Can I?" Because they're thinking, it's a movie with thousands, just hordes and hordes of zombies. I'm like, it's not that kind of zombie movie. If you're a zombie in this movie, you've got one of the best parts.
You have to do some acting in that as well.
Yes.
And is it difficult, like, I guess, like condensing your stories down to 15 to 30 minutes, or is it?
I at this point, I've kind of got that down to a science. Now that I've been doing it for coming up on a couple years, it took me a little while. I just kind of winged it at first. It was never much of an issue. I mean, I was more so going by how much time it would take to fill up a 30-minute episode. Nowadays, I kind of write a long story, a medium story, and a short story every week. And it's one of those things. The more you do something, the more consistently and the more regularly you do it, the better you get at it, the more of a grip you get on everything. And at this point, I kind of know, it's one of those things where you just get a little better at it and you just kind of naturally I'm just kind of naturally writing these stories to fall within about the length that I would like them to without adding fat and filler. I'm been doing it long enough where it's just kind of working out that way. I just kind of got that groove. Hopefully the groove will keep going, but yeah, that's kind of the way that goes. I guess that was kind of a confusing way to answer that, but I hope that answered the question.
There's one thing I like about your stories. They get right to the point. There's not like any like no soap opera elements or anything like that.
Not too much. Sometimes there are. Sometimes I'll build it up a little bit, but yeah, it's a short story, so it's fun to just get right into it. It's another thing I like about writing short stories. You don't have to. You don't have to. It's not so much about the characters and heavy character development that has to be carried through like 90 minutes like a script. It's more about the situation, and oh, by the way, this guy is the one that's in the situation, but it really focuses more on the situation as opposed to the characters themselves. Although sometimes the character is the heart of the situation, and it's a little bit more development in that situation, but it varies. But yeah, definitely easier to get to the point in a short story.
Do you like work to try to find a voice for your characters?
You mean when I record them?
When you record them?
Ask me that one more time.
I guess, do you try to find a certain type of voice, for your character? Like Daniel Day-Lewis, when he was trying to do Abraham Lincoln, it took forever for him to find the voice he felt was Abraham Lincoln. Do you struggle hard to find the voice for your characters, or you just
I don't really struggle with it. I just kind of I kind of have 5 or 6 set type voices that I use, and I just use that voice and apply it to whoever the character is. So if it's a woman, I kind of have a certain way I talk for women. I kind of just go a little bit more bouncy like this, and this is kind of my female voice, and then I throw the pitch on it, and so that's my female voice. And then I have like the regular guy, which is just kind of my voice. Then if I want like I do like a grizzled detective voice, like, I'm the grizzled detective, and this is kind of the voice I use for grizzled detectives. And for scientists, like older scientists, I kind of use a voice like this. I'm more of the scientist. I go out. So I have these kind of different voices, and I just kind of apply them to the type of character it is. So if you listen to a lot of my episodes, you'll notice, hey, that sounds just like the grizzled detective in that other story. Oh, yeah, it's the same voice.
Some of my favorite episodes were like the trust game. I like that one a lot.
Oh, good. Yeah, I thought that one was kind of creepy.
Yeah, I thought that was I could see that almost being almost like an old Twilight Zone episode or something like that. Or,
yeah.
And I do have to raise an objection about Spiders from Mars. You didn't make one reference to David Bowie in that entire.
I should have. Yeah, that was a mistake. He should have been listening to David Bowie or something while he was killing time there. That was an error.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. I was like, oh, where's David Bowie? You know, if you're going to mention Spiders from Mars, you got to mention David Bowie.
I should have.
Yeah. And the pregnant smoker was an interesting one too.
Oh boy, that was
it gave me shades of like Cronenberg's The Fly, as far as the scenes or whatever, when they're trying to, she's pregnant and there's something horrible inside of it. I thought all the doctors or nurses are freaking out.
Yeah, that's kind of where I got that idea as I was writing it. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that baby maggot thing. And that's one of the more gross stories that I've written.
Yeah.
What kind of feedback do you typically get on your stories, or do you get a lot from your audience, say on that particular story or one like it?
Most of the feedback has been great. I get a lot of I have an audience of listeners who are listening because they like it. So most of them enjoy it. Most of it's positive.
Good deal.
I had one story that one of my regular listeners was kind of disgusted by and said she couldn't listen anymore. It was called Dark Mystery Box. That one really disturbed her, and she said she couldn't finish it and found it objectionable. But that's going to happen. You can't please everybody.
It's a horror podcast, right?
Yeah, some of the stories are going to be disturbing for sure.
Yeah. Another favorite of mine was The Woman Across the Street.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like that. I wasn't sure how many people would like that because that's actually one of the longer ones. But yeah,
it was a little different.
It's very different. Yeah, it's that's for people who haven't listened to it. It's kind of a little bit of a time machine kind of an episode, and it's one of my longer ones. Yeah, I wasn't sure how well that would go over, but I've had multiple people mention that as one of their favorites. That's another funny thing about doing this is I have stories that are my favorites, and I'm like, I think everybody will like this, and then I'll have a story or two where I'm like, it's mediocre, it's okay, and then some of those mediocre and okay ones are the ones that when I read reviews, that's some of their favorite ones. I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. I'm glad some of these that I'm not too wild about are favorites of some people.
So what are some of your favorites?
Oh, let me see. I would really have to see a list to do this question justice, but off the top of my head, I like Freak Show. I have one called Freak Show. That's one of those perspective ones. It's about a freak in the carnival called the Alligator Man, and that's one of my favorites. There's one called the Bird Watcher, which I think is a lot of fun.
One ask with the Bird Watcher. Are you a bird watcher to begin with, or just no bird watchers?
I don't. I'm not a bird watcher. I don't know much about birds. I love birds. I think they're beautiful, and I can see where somebody would get into that, but I really don't. I just had to do a little research. I got the idea of, the skeleton of that story is I got the idea. What if somebody's out in the woods, deep woods, and they see garbage bags laying out there, and they investigate and they're full of body parts, and then, oh, by the way, the killer's right there, right behind the tree, and you didn't know. So I'm like, well, what's a situation somebody would be in the woods like that? I'm like, hey, how about a bird watcher? So I just had to do a little research on bird watching and different birds to add to the story. And that's another fun part of doing this is I'm not writing about everything that I write about isn't something that I know about. Sometimes I'm like, I want to write about that. I'll have to do some research, a little bit of research to do the subject justice.
So
That
have
was
you ever
one of
seen a
those.
green-tailed towhee then?
I haven't. I haven't, but I did read that I read a story that that bird showed up in Tennessee and it had only been seen one time. So it is rare in Tennessee. I know that. I've never seen one. And in Tennessee, I don't think many people have.
Probably not. Any other favorites?
That dark web mystery box, I like that a lot. There's one called The Creep, which I think is a lot of fun, about this just horrible repairman. It's really good repairman, but he's just lewd and crude, and I thought that one was a lot of fun. Those are some. I just released one recently called The Bet, which I thought was a lot of fun too. So those are some of my favorites off the top of my head. I'd have a lot more if I had like a list up, but off the top of my head, those jump to me.
Your one story, Region Number 6. I don't know if you meant it this way, but it almost felt like they took place in a dystopian world. You know that.
I didn't, but that's good.
I don't know. It's just the way it was done. It almost felt like, these people are like, almost like the last people on Earth. They have they're like part of some big government operation trying to keep mankind alive.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. I like seeing it from that. That's not the way I thought about it when I wrote it, but that's one of the great things about stories is everybody who listens to it or reads a story is going to have their own way of viewing it, and none of it's wrong. It's whatever the viewer gauges it at. So that's cool. I love hearing stuff like that where people are seeing it from a different perspective than I was. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, like so there's nothing in the story that necessarily says that, but it's almost like the way I felt it when I was reading it.
Good. Yeah, that's good. I love that. I love hearing that.
Yeah, another favorite of mine was Lost Phone.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah. That was fun too. Yeah, that was one of those where the basis of that idea is if you lost your phone and got it back and there were like some weird pictures on it, like whoever the hell had it started taking some weird pictures with it, and why were they doing that? And yeah, that's one that I thought was pretty fun too.
And then there's also, you got very meta when you did top 10 ways to kill your husband.
Well, I have, yeah, I have. I actually wrote that book. I have a whole series of top 10 ways to kill. I think there's like 50 of them. They're stupid. They're just stupid little books. It's really about the cover. So I have like top 10 ways to kill your husband, top 10 ways to kill your wife, top 10 ways to kill your cousin. There's like 50 of them. It's pretty much every relationship someone could have is represented. So they're more about the cover. Like somebody's supposed to buy the paperback book, and like a husband will buy the paperback book and like lay it on the coffee table, like the book that says top 10 ways to kill your wife, and lay it on the coffee table and see your wife's reaction when she walks into the room, and you're like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean for you to see that. Yeah, so that's really the basis of
just some light
book.
reading.
Yeah, there's
Pay no
like
attention to that book.
there's a stupid story inside all of those books, but it's really about buying it for the cover. And I thought, and so that's kind of what the story is. It's the story of somebody buying that book and setting it down, and their spouse getting the wrong idea, thinking that this was literal, and how they would react.
You haven't gone to trial or anything yet for anything like that, have you?
Nope. Nope. I do. I have like a little disclaimer right in the description before anybody buys it, that if they're really looking for the top 10 ways to kill somebody, to seek medical help, psychiatric help immediately. But if they're looking for a gag, keep reading.
This is not professional advice.
Yeah.
Right.
It's in the wrong section of the bookstore.
Yes. And let's see, there's skeleton face. Were you trying to make a statement about modeling today?
A little bit. See, I thought that was interesting because that's actually the cover of the Blood Tingling Tale series. Is the woman on the cover she's kind of got a made up skeleton face, but she's still very attractive. And I thought, she could obviously be a model. She could be a supermodel. She's a very attractive woman, but she's got this skeleton face. So what would happen if she didn't have the skeleton face? What would happen if somebody tried to sabotage her, make her ugly so that they could step in and take her place and get all those good modeling jobs? And but it just backfires because she's beautiful no matter what. It doesn't matter if she has a skeleton face or not. She's still beautiful and she's still making the most of it. But that was really just based off of my off of the book cover for the Blood Tingling Tales series. She's my cover girl.
Yeah, I remember seeing the art quite a bit, and then also saw it for your story. It's like I was on. Okay, I've seen that before.
Yeah, that's who she is.
Yeah. And who does the art for your for your little projects?
I have a gal who she's from Ukraine actually, who does all of my book covers. Oh, and the she does my book covers, but when I do for each episode of the podcast, I do those. I mean, I don't draw those. I just find those kind of on free photo sites. There's so many of those that have some pretty cool photos. So I tried to pick something that's fitting for each episode, or at least one of the stories in each episode of the podcast, and I just kind of pick those myself.
Right, and Ghouls in the Graveyard. Is there really a Gulahi cemetery in eastern Kentucky of all this stuff, or did you just make it all up?
Oh, I completely made that up. Yeah, Gulahi is the last name that Kurt Russell made up for Goldie Hawn in the movie Overboard. So that's where I got Gulahi from. I was trying to think of something that sounded like the word ghoul that could have ghoul in it. I'm like, oh yeah, he used Gulahi for her last name, and that. So that's where I got that from. No, there is no real cemetery with that name that I am aware of. If there is, boy, what a coincidence.
One of the stories remind me of the Playground of the Dead in Huntsville, Alabama. And I'm guessing that's where you got the idea from.
That is where I got the idea. Yeah. I was reading about different odd things about cemeteries throughout the country, and that was one of them. It's like, why the hell would there be a playground right by a cemetery? Boy, how creepy is that? I mean, probably, like in the book, I think the character surmises that it was probably just to keep kids busy while the adults visit the gravesite. And that's what I'm guessing it was there for. But geez, yeah, kind of strange.
And my brother lives in Huntsville, so he's talked about that cemetery quite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Has he been there?
Yeah, he's been there. He's never played in the playground or anything like that. And I don't think his son has either. So,
that would be freaky to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to check it out sometime next time we go visit. And let's say Love at First Sight. That was quite a disturbing story.
Yeah, I love it.
That was crazy. Yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah, I enjoy that one too. That's probably one of my favorites too. Yeah, the love potion will make people do some crazy things.
The description of the woman as far as like when she was giving her commands and that type of thing versus what the people were seeing as far as this graceful beauty that I mean, like her sausage fingers and that type of thing.
Yeah, I didn't paint her as being the most attractive woman, did I?
No, but you definitely did a good job of that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, the Vacancy I can see almost like an episode of Night Gallery.
Which one was it?
The Vacancy.
Oh yeah, that would be a really good episode of Night Gallery, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's another one that I really like a lot. The Vacancy. Yeah, that I can't even remember where I got the idea for those pictures, but it that just kind of came to me somewhere. Sometimes I can't remember where I get them from, but yeah, I really like The Vacancy. That's a pretty neat one. Yeah, that would be a good Night Gallery. Yeah,
I could see Rod Serling standing by one of the first paintings and that. And so,
oh, that'd be perfect. That would be perfect.
And Stay on the Road. Is there a Mississippi blood trail? I couldn't find anything on Google about it, and I'm assuming
No, I completely made that up. Yeah, yeah. I really don't use real places very often. I just kind of so I'm glad that you're wondering if some of them are authentic. Most of them are not.
It's like I think because when I think of it, it's like like if there's that one hiking trail in Japan where a lot of people go to commit suicide. It reminded me a little bit of that.
Oh, I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, there's
a suicide trail in Japan.
Yeah, there's like this like kind of this nature preserve where a lot of people go there to commit suicide, and so there's like almost like these watch groups, to make sure nobody like kills themselves out there.
Oh wow, how interesting! I'm gonna look into that. That will be the source of some stories, I think.
There are a few crappy horror movies based on it, but nothing I really would recommend.
Okay. Oh, that's creepy. So you can just be walking out there and all of a sudden just happen upon somebody's dead body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's very creepy and very sad.
Yeah. I'll try to remember. There was a kind of more, I think Gus Van Sant did a movie set there.
What's her name from Natalie Dormer?
No, that's a different movie.
Suicide Forest.
That's a different movie. There's so there's more than one, but I think
there
was
there's several.
There was one who played the figurehead of Ra's al Ghul in the Christian Bale Batman. He wasn't the actual
Ken Watanabe.
Yeah, Quentin Watanabe. He was in it. I think Gus Van Sant directed it, and I can't remember who there was an American in there, like Matthew McConaughey or someone like that. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
You remember the title of it?
I'm drawing a blank on it.
Okay.
But I do believe Gus Van Sant directed it, and so he had his set there. I think where the person was going to try to commit suicide, and what's his name again?
Ken Watanabe.
Basically kind of talks him out of it, and I'm not giving any spoilers about it, in case you want to see it.
But you don't recommend the movie.
That was not bad. That was not bad. I forgot about that one. The one with the Game of Thrones babe, I would avoid that one.
Okay.
Suicide Forest.
Is that what the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was something a little more poetic or something.
No, they went pretty literal.
Yeah. And then snuff film. No, that was an interesting one. That's probably the closest you got to a Lovecraftian story.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, that I guess that kind of did get kind of Lovecraftian a little bit, didn't it? Yeah, there at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a different turn there at the end. It was interesting.
Yeah, David just looked it up, and it's Sea of Trees is the name of that movie.
Sea of Trees. Okay, I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, that was the one by Gus Van Sant.
But snuff film, snuff film is really a little bit more of a traditional mystery where he's finding clues that leads him to the next clue that leads him to the next clue, and it leads him to something pretty crazy. Yeah.
Now the giant owl statue, did you base that on the Bohemian Grove in California?
Yes, I did. Absolutely.
That still boggles my mind, though, that whole thing.
It's mind-boggling. Yes, that it's disturbing. Yeah, it's oh boy, I could pick a lot of adjectives to describe that, but yeah, that's creepy. It's definitely creepy, definitely strange.
And then I've noticed that you also decided to turn The Third Floor, one of the first movies you worked on, into into a story and also into a podcast.
Yes, I did. I kind of told the third floor story from the perspective of one of the characters named Mrs. Fish, who was kind of one of the supporting characters in that. I kind of thought I would continue telling that the third floor story from different characters' perspectives, but so far that's the only one that I've done so far. But yeah, why not? Why not? I do that. I do that occasionally. I'll do. I use if anybody has seen our movie It Lives in the Attic, there's a whole sequence in that movie that takes place in Club Fun, which is a sex fetish club. I use Club Fun a lot. That shows up in a lot of stories. As a matter of fact, yesterday I just got done writing a story that takes place in Club Fun. So I do stuff like that. I'll use some of the things from our movies, some of the characters from our movies occasionally, and in the future I will. Just, I don't know. It's a fun world to tap into on occasion.
Yeah, I like the way you done this version of third floor. I thought it was much better than the movie.
Good, good. Yeah, the movie's not great. That movie, not many people have seen it, so you're one of the few who has seen it. But I think I watched it a couple years ago, and it was our first movie, and we didn't really know what we were doing, and it shows. And I think the running time on the third floor is like 100 minutes, and that thing should probably not be over 45 minutes. That's got a lot of fat in it. There's a scene at the end where the priest is,
Yes, Father Malone. Yes.
oh my gosh, you ask that guy about the third floor, he rambles on about it for like a quarter of the movie. It's like, all right, okay. I could have summed all that up in a paragraph now. But that's the you live and you learn, and that was one of our that was like our learning, our training film. So we learned a lot from that. But yeah, it's not a great movie, but it does have some creepy aspects to it. Especially, I think probably the best part of that movie is the elevator scene with the Mrs. Fish character, and that's the story that I tell in podcast form.
I got worried when you had Father Malone pop up in it. I thought he was going to do another one of his rants and all that, but luckily you kept him very minimum in there.
Yes, yeah, you will not be hearing any more Father Malone rants. Oh my gosh, that guy. I don't know what I was thinking. And the funny thing is, boy, I mean, anybody who's seen it, I know most people haven't seen it, so they don't know what I'm talking about. But trust me, he doesn't stop talking about it. When he's supposed to be the one who gives you the backstory on the third floor, and you find out everything. The mystery is all told by him, but he doesn't stop talking about it. And I wrote that as one big scene. And when we cut it together as one big scene, we're like, this is insane. So instead of just chopping it down, we intercut it with other sequences. So it'll be like an action sequence, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is fun. And then the action sequence ends, and you're back to Father Malone, who's like, so anyway, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy. Somebody shut him up.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the low points of the movie. Nothing against the actor or anything, but the character he played was like absolutely terrible.
Yeah. Everything that he said there at the end could have probably been summed up in about 10 seconds. If I rewrote that today, that I mean, he would have about 2 or 3 sentences, and that would be that.
Yeah, that would have been a lot better.
But you live and you learn. It's just one of those, that was the script needed to be rewritten probably a dozen times, and we could have shot it in a way where I would have been able to edit that down better. And it was a training film for us, and that's really where we learned how to make movies. That was one of our big jumping off points.
I noticed that you also reduced the number of the Sisk brothers to 1.
Yes, I did. Yeah, it's again, it's just, I think there's just too many in the movie. I can't even remember. Is there 4? I think there's 4 in the movie.
4? I thought it was just 3.
Is it 3? Okay. Yeah, there's too many. So I put it down. I just put it down to 1. I think that makes the point.
And so you talk us a little bit. You have reoccurring characters in your stories that pop up?
Sometimes. So in it lives in the attic, I have that club fun sequence. So there's characters from that club fun sequence who will pop up occasionally usually in other club fun stories. So I really like that club fun scene, and there's so much more to explore there, and I explore them. But so some of these characters that you see in It Lives in the Attic are in some of these other stories.
So does Snuff Film have a club fun in it as well?
Yeah, Snuff Film. He goes to Club Fun to get another lead. Yeah, the Mohawk guy is in Club Fun. Yeah, so Snuff Film does take place in there for a second.
If there's one character I probably associate you with more of anyone else, that'd be Ski Mask.
Oh yeah,
and you have your 9 lives of Ski Mask, and
yeah,
it's probably the longest thing you've done.
It is. It's probably the best thing I've done. It's my favorite. It's the favorite thing that I've written. For folks who don't know, our first big biting pig movie was Maniac on the Loose, and one of the characters in the movie is Ski Mask. He's a real deranged. He's a security guard of a mental institution. He's just deranged. He's a serial killer. He's a bad guy, and he's polarizing. He's the most popular character out of all the movies that we made. People love that guy. They love that character. I got so many Ski Mask, like, you got to do something else with Ski Mask, and they just love Ski Mask. He's a brutal character, but in the movie, some people just find him amusing and entertaining. And I thought I wanted to delve deeper into Ski Mask and show that there's more to him than what you see in that. So I wrote a prequel and sequel to Maniac on the Loose called The 9 Lives of Ski Mask. It revolves around the Ski Mask character, my favorite character I've ever written. And 9 Lives of Ski Mask is probably my favorite thing I've ever written. It's a series. It's a 9-book series, short books, but altogether it's like one big book. And it's the 9 Lives of Ski Mask. They did this scientific experiment on him, and he has 9 lives. If he dies, he comes back to life. So the story, there's 9 lives of Ski Mask. There's 9 different stories based on each new life that he has. It's a lot of fun. I love that. I love that book.
I really like that idea, though. You have a finite number of sequels. You can do 8 sequels and you're out. You don't have to keep Halloween 20 or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Go pull a Doctor Who and cheat with it.
Yeah.
It's 13 more incarnations.
Yeah.
I mean,
the war Ski Mask.
I could do more if I wanted to, but I thought it ended on a really, really good note. So I probably won't. But I do love that story. I also did that as a podcast. So if anybody wanted to listen to the 9 Lives of Ski Mask, I forgot I want to say episode 38 is the entire thing. I released it as like 5 different long episodes, and then I just did it's like a 10-hour episode of the entire thing. It's both Maniac on the Loose and the 9 Lives of Ski Mask. I'm very confident that's episode 38 if anybody wanted to listen to it. It's a good story. I really enjoy that. Yeah, go Ski Mask.
I was surprised to find that Dr. Franklin Grimm was the one who's responsible for his resurrections.
Yes. And we meet Dr. Grimm's father in the 9 Lives of Ski Mask as well. But yes, Dr. Grimm, who's one of the main characters in Maniac on the Loose, is one of the main characters in the 9 Lives of Ski Mask as well. And pretty much every character from Maniac on the Loose is in the 9 Lives of Ski Mask, either significantly or in a minor role. Because it's
Tamale Jones. Is he in
Who's that?
Tamale Jones.
Tamale Jones. He's a new character to the. He's unique to the 9 Lives of Ski Mask. Yeah, I love Tamale Jones.
Yeah, to the
tamale eating guy from the 1920s. He's got like a 1920s persona, and he eats tamales.
Yeah, he says such lines as "Thanks, Tush. Tall women are the bee's knees."
Yeah, he uses a lot of 1920s slang.
And when you were doing like the, I guess you've adapted a lot of your movies into like a book form as well. Do you just take like the script, or do you like watch the movie and just write down again, or do you just remember what you think is the best parts of it?
Well, I go off of the script. So we released 10 Big Biting Pig movies, and 6 of those I wrote and directed. So I have written book versions of all 6 of those books, and I pretty much go off of the script, but all of those in book form are quite a bit different than the movie, some more than others. Like the Caretakers isn't a lot different, but Goatsuckers quite a bit different. It Lives in the Attic isn't much different, but there's a little bit more to it. Hell is Full has a completely different ending that the characters that we follow in the last segment we actually follow the timeline of it all. So you could actually see what time everything took place at. And if you're confused, it really wraps everything up good. So, and Spirit Stalkers, I never liked the ending of the Spirit Stalkers movie. It was okay, but I felt like it was, I was just never fully satisfied with it. So I completely rewrote the ending of Spirit Stalkers in book form, and I think it's a lot better. And so it was really an opportunity for me just to correct some of the things I would have liked to correct. And also in the book world, you are not restrained by budget or anything. I could do anything in a book. Whereas if we're making the movie, I can't have a semi truck crash into a tree. I just can't do it. We're working on no budget. But in a book, nothing's off limits. So I apply that to a lot of the stories, specifically Goatsucker, which is a monster in the woods story. And in the movie Goatsucker, you don't really see the monster. You see him a few times real quick, but that's because we were working on no budget and we had a monster costume, and it looked like a costume. So I didn't want to use it too much. It's just very fleeting, and it's just somebody in a costume. In the book, this is one of the coolest monsters ever. He gallops like a horse and swings through trees like a monkey, and he's kind of got a camouflage similar to like the Predator. Very cool monster in the book that we just weren't capable of doing in the movie. So, and I just released this week, I just released a book called From the Mind of a Maniac. And it's a collection of all 8 of my standalone books just in one big bundle. So it has the 6 Big Biting Pig movies in book form. It has the 9 Lives of Ski Mask. And then it has one other book that I wrote called The Craving, which one of the main characters in The Craving is a character from the 9 Lives of Ski Mask called Jack Frost. So I combined all 8 of those into one gigantic collection. It's called From the Mind of a Maniac. If anybody wanted to just go nuts and read all of these books at once, that's the one to get. It's all in one collection, nice and convenient and easy.
Have you considered like doing like a radio drama or anything? Get like a cast together and have sound effects and
that would be a lot of fun. It has gone through my mind. I think that would be a lot of fun. It's just it would be a lot of work. I'd have to, it'd be almost like doing a movie again, where you have to work with everybody's schedule, and it's a lot easier to record just on one microphone. It'd be tough to get. It would really just be logistically, it would be difficult. It would be fun though. I have thought about it. It's just time wise and the extra work it would take. I haven't really explored it seriously, but it would be a lot of fun. Maybe one of these days.
When you're doing like I guess like conversations between characters, is that difficult for you to do? Like for one person, you do go like, I didn't say that. Yes, you did. Do you do something like that, or how do you?
That is how I do it. Yeah, I've had other people ask me about that too. I just read it. And I change my voices as I go. I edited it afterwards, so I can take a little pause in between the dialogue. But most of my short stories, it's mostly just one character, so it doesn't happen a lot. But when I did the audio version of the 9 Lives of Ski Mask, which is long, and there's a lot of characters, and that's kind of in a play style where there's a lot of dialogue. I would just kind of change the voice and go back and forth. It's not too difficult once you get the hang of it. I've done a lot of acting in my life, so it wasn't too challenging. And then I just in editing, I just mess around with the pitches a little bit if I want to give them a specific, a little bit more of a specific tone, especially the female characters.
And they go to your website, they can find more than just books. I see you also have like merchandise, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, and all that stuff.
Yep, we got it all. Yeah, I got everything at our conveniently located in one place. It's maniacontheloose.com. Real easy. But yeah, that's where my books are. You can find the podcast there. Merchandise, got all kinds of merchandise. one-stop shop, maniacandtheloose.com.
Now, did you pick the name for your podcast because of the movie, or was there another reason why you picked Maniac on the Loose?
I did. I was when I was thinking of names to come up with, I kept coming back to something with Maniac, and I'm like, because people kind of know me as from Maniac on the Loose. They know me as the ski mask character. Maniac on the Loose is one of our more popular movies. So when I started thinking about that, I'm like, well, we'll make it like some kind of a maniac something. And I'm like, Maniac on the Loose, it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, there's a movie. Yeah, there's a book. But you know what? Now there's a podcast. So yeah, I thought that was perfect. So once I thought of that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a no-brainer. It's the Maniac on the Loose Scary Stories podcast.
So did Goat Sucker not ever considered anything for like the name?
I didn't think no, Goat Sucker really wasn't in consideration. that might confuse some people.
What's this supposed to be about?
Yeah, false advertisement here.
That might draw the wrong audience, and they might not be happy.
That's not the feeling I expected to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Our word for this episode was going to be Horrormeister. That is what you've been described as by Victor Miller, who wrote for Friday the 13th. Was there a particular reason why he called you a Horrormeister?
He wrote a review of one of our movies that I wrote, and in the review he called me a Horrormeister. There, I just saw that, and I'm like, oh, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I use the hell out of that.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for coming on our show.
Right.
And
I love being here. Thanks a lot for having me. We should do it again sometime.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure thing. We'll find another excuse to bring you on.
Yeah, don't tell us that, because we're always looking for a guest.
Yes.
Hey, anytime.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun.
Anyway, speaking of merchandise, David, we have merchandise too.
We have merchandise. Is it teespring.com?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's Teespring. check out our website, lovecraftpod.com, and there's a link to merchandise. If you t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, stickers.
Much as that, tote bags, bucket hats, socks, and a welcome mat.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love that welcome mat.
There's a welcome mat?
Yeah, there's a welcome mat on there. You not see the welcome mat?
I think it just automatically creates everything that it can out of that one picture. So
yeah, but there was a welcome mat on there.
Well, that's what you need at your house.
Exactly.
What every house needs is a welcome mat.
Yeah.
And Rob Poynton and Tim Mindy's of Strange Shadows had invited us onto our podcast, and we had them on ours, and they have a second podcast, and so we're on theirs in this book club. It's recently out now, and so you can hear the trilogy of us, and all that. And our theme song "Providence" by Lloydicus has been such a hit that we did have at the end of the podcast. It's now been moved up to the beginning, but it's also appeared in another podcast.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
He's double dipping.
Yeah. Care to guess what the name of this podcast is?
I don't know.
Maniac on the Loose?
Yeah, no, it's the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment's Livewire.
What?
So how's that for random?
I wouldn't have.
I was gonna guess that.
Yeah.
That was my second guess, right?
Yeah. All right.
It's popular with all the youth.
It's of all the kids. All the kids are taking it. Yeah, all right, everybody. The stars are no longer right. You must cease all discussions until they line again next month. 30 plus minutes of H.P. Lovecraft is sponsored by the Creep Air Conditioning Service. This podcast was created in association with lovecraftpod.com and the Logan Speculative Fiction Group with the help of the Logan County Public Library and the Great Old Ones. Special thanks to Katie Tyson for being our maniac of the stereos, and Joshua Dukes for the strawberry soup. Until we meet again, Princess Gadoo wants you to know she enjoys scary stories.
Sweet.